Well, he's back from Japan, and we're the first to have him on. So, Brian Wang, welcome back to stateside.
Thank you.
I understand you had a phenomenal time eating your way across Japan.
That's right. A great Wagyu beef, fantastic sushi. It was very good.
Okay.
And right. I also went to the Iron Chef Sakai, although he's not working anymore, restaurant. So Iron Chef shows. So.
I see. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. All right. All right. Well, listen, if you like having Brian on, because I know you do already, but what the heck, hit the like button anyway, hit subscribe, hit notify, follow Brian everywhere he is. I know I keep on telling you to follow Brian White. Now I have to get you to follow Brian Wang. So, so you need to be Wright and Wang at the same time. Mm-hmm. This will be good. All right. Brian, number 2 question, I think right now on the list of questions that's going to be asked on the call Wednesday is going to be about 4680 batteries. And it absolutely should be, because there was a minute there where Tesla was a car company. Mm-hmm. And now they're no longer a car company. They are an AI company who does robotics. But mm-hmm. somewhere in the middle there, just for a minute, they were an energy company. Mm-hmm. Right. And energy is still kind of the root of almost everything except for the dojo computer itself, I suppose. Although energy is a big deal on that too, I guess, in terms of trying to reduce the amount of energy you use on the dojo. But the battery is foundational to pretty much everything that Tesla does, and yet I'm feeling uncomfortable about the speed of the ramp. Mm-hmm. Make me feel better.
So one thing is, yes, it's way slower than we'd hoped from Battery Day. We'd hoped to have 100 gigawatt hours by the end of last year. Obviously, we're way far from that. I think John from CleanWatt had a pretty good analysis of it. Based on the 10 million batteries made from the Texas thing. So roughly,
just for those who didn't see CleanWatt, he said, we had this day where Tesla announced that they had done the 10 millionth total battery. And if we assume that was all in Austin, we could kind of get an idea that we were at 4 gigawatts an hour? I mean,
4.9 gigawatt hour per quarter.
Per quarter.
No. Annualized. Annualized.
A run rate of 4 gigawatt hours. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that means for the full year, we're maybe at 8 gigawatt hour. So 8 gigawatt hours. Sorry, let me just do it. 4.9 plus say 3. So we're say 8 gigawatt hours, but then divide by 4. So 2 gigawatt hours for the first half of the year. Plus that doesn't include Fremont, I think. So 3-4 gigawatt hours, maybe 2.5 to 4, somewhere around that range, right? But that's only one line, right? Because the Texas one is only one line and a prototype line. The Fremont Cato Road line is a prototype line, right? So they're turning that on and off, not really maximizing production on it. But the fact that they're at that 1.5, 1.2 gigawatt hours per the quarter, and that 5 annualized, means that line, because I think they were going for 7 gigawatt hours for one line, right? Or maybe 10 gigawatt hours. Anyway, so it's not necessarily that far off from having one line properly maximized. And by my analysis, even if it was kind of at 4 gigawatt hours, that compares not that badly against traditional battery lines, I think. And then Brian White had indicated that there was this a total of 4 battery lines in Texas. 3 are being completed, and then the one's running. So that once you get that thing, and let's say another quarter ramp, get up to like 2 or 3 gigawatt hours, you can turn on those other ones, start ramping them up, and then Q4, this first one's at a proper production run rate, and then the other 3 are kind of ready to go. So by multiplying the number of lines, suddenly it becomes this big whoosh. Although at 3-4 gigawatt hours, that is about 4% of their total battery usage.
Right.
So it's starting to become meaningful.
Right.
The amount of batteries that they're getting out of that thing. And if you run it down the list, if you get to about 10 gigawatt hours per quarter, you're in like the top 5 or 6 battery companies in the world, right? So once they kind of like take that one thing, go to 4, and then they'll turn on like 4 in Texas, 4 in Berlin, and those things that are small. If you look at the Nevada plants, where they say, okay, we spent $4 million on this thing, the battery part of it, where they're going to make 4680s, was like 1/10 of the factory footprint. I don't think it was that much. Of course, the NAV factory is huge, but it's something where maybe not that much larger than the megapack target size thing. Yeah. So then stamping out all these condensed battery factories it'd be insignificant to suddenly 10x, 20x lines in 2024, and then this thing, the 100 gigawatt hours that we were talking about, suddenly becomes on the table, right?
Yeah. So basically, long story short is, if they are currently making enough for it to be efficient enough to produce batteries for cars in both locations, then it's step and repeat. It may not be at the numbers you'd like it to be. It may not be at the ultimate numbers per line, but if you go from one line that's doing 4 per year or 4 per quarter or whatever, and multiply that times 4 more, now you've got 16 or you got 20 just in Austin alone. That would be significant. So basically, you're not terribly worried then. And I'm not, and quite frankly, I've been like listening to them and saying, wait a minute, if you're already putting in the permit requirements that you want to double the numbers in Berlin, and you've already announced that you're going to do 500 gigawatts in Reno, you know you're going to get this solved. It's only a matter of which day.
Right. And they'd also said that they were doing the A/B testing, that they were like, because they had enough batteries from CATL and other places, then they weren't sweating, okay, I must have these batteries. If I don't have these batteries, I can't make the cars.
Right.
Now I make the cars either way, so I'm going to perfect it, and then I'm going to ramp it up. But the ramp up of them, like why they were saying go to 100 gigawatt hours, they were kind of thinking, get it one line good, and then ramp last year. The fact that it's taking a bit longer, which really, like, I'm as annoyed that they had to take it longer anyway. But the fact that they'll 10x, 20x with the lines at some quarter it's going to be like, wow,
yes,
you just went, not just 50%, 200%. No, you went 1,000%, something like that. So it's like, because you flipped on all the lines which are being built, then that is something that, again, it'd be one of those surprise things where suddenly, the whole rocket, exponential thing. And I've done also another analysis of what you do with each 100 gigawatt hours of batteries.
So in other words, now, Brian, we're putting you in charge. And you're going to tell us where you want to use the batteries.
That's right.
All right. Okay. Let me put up the screen here. Oops, I didn't. I need to do that in reverse of what I just did. Mm-hmm. Let me. I'm always very good at this sharing screen thing. Let me share my screen like that, and then I think I will have it.
Yeah. So here is the analysis of like making $100 billion from. So that's basically what we're almost at with the Model Y and Model 3.
Okay.
That we're at $44,000 per unit. But I'm saying go down to $40,000 per unit, and if you make 2.5 million of those, this is line 5.
Yes.
Then you have $100 million of revenue from that particular product category. Right. And that's your first usage. You take the 187 gigawatt hours batteries roughly to do that, assuming roughly about 75 kilowatt hours per vehicle.
Right.
Everyone loves the Gen 3 car. At 20K, you need 5 million of them. At 25K per unit, you need 4 million of them to make your $100 million. The 50 kilowatt hours for the pack on that is assuming the master plan 3 thing, but it could be 40 kilowatt hours.
Sure.
Or whatever. So either way, you plug in what the actual number is, and it's either 250 gigawatt hours of total batteries or 200 gigawatt hours of total batteries. So more batteries to make that $100 billion than using the Model Y or Model 3.
Exactly. Okay.
But and then you also need, like double the units. Cybertruck, if it comes in 80K, whatever, one of the trims, and that's the most common one, then you need 1.25 million of those. And then it's assuming 100 kilowatt hour per bat thing, it's 125 gigawatt hours of battery. So less batteries, and then $100 billion. And then Megapack, could be selling at $2.5 million each in the bottom line.
Right.
40,000 of those makes $100 billion. And 40,000 Megapacks, that's a production of Lathrop, I think. So that's your $100 billion there.
Right.
And then 150 gigawatt hours of batteries. So if I haven't made mistakes there. And then semi, 900 kilowatt hours for the 500 mile range vehicle, 360 gigawatt. So it needs more batteries for the semi to get to $100 billion. But it has more mission impact in terms of like
right.
pollution reduction, supply chain stuff, and the fact that semi and Megapack are kind of a couple, right?
Yeah.
The more semi you need, the lot more Megapack. Same for Cybertruck that you're kind of driving it. So if you're battery abundant, then you use that to drive semi and Megapack and Cybertruck.
So you're saying that you could take this entire thing, you can make the entire deal with only 1.258 terawatts.
Yeah, 1.258 terawatts. Yeah,
Terawatt
and you'd be making $600 billion if it was all equal. And if it was all equal, right? It may not be equal. Maybe you're doing more on each one. But I just wanted to.
So you'd have the sales. You'd have the sales of Walmart.
Yeah.
With only 1.25 terawatt hour.
That's right.
Yes.
Right. And right now the world is at, in terms of batteries for electric vehicles, according to CNEV, the China New Energy Vehicle Post, they're saying the first half of the year we had about 300 gigawatt hours of batteries, 50% up from last year, and CATL has about 36% of that. But that doesn't include storage batteries.
Okay.
So
right.
So storage batteries is probably, I think, about 40 to 60 gigawatt hours of battery, because Megapack, I think Tesla with Megapack and Powerwalls had about 30 to 50% of that market. So that'd be a separate bucket from that,
right.
Which I think overall world battery production is kind of below certain targets, like not just Tesla behind, but, CATL has big plans, said to get to a terawatt hour by 2025. Still time to run, but, them, Goshen, all these Chinese guys are talking about really, really huge numbers, and they have not delivered. BYD is delivering on their batteries, but,
Right. So then just for fun, if we looked at this in terms of the 3 terawatt hours that Elon says he wants to be producing by 2030, we could roughly do
double in bit. Yeah.
A little over $1 trillion just in the energy related businesses, not counting things like FSD, robotaxis, Optimus, et cetera, which are all on top, and Dojo as a service, which would all be on top of that 8 trillion roughly, I guess, if I do my math right, 7 to 8 trillion in business.
Right. If you scroll down to the bottom of this thing,
I'm sorry, I did do the math wrong. This was 600 billion, so it'd be 2.5. So to 1.5 trillion, let's call it 1.5 trillion in business. Okay. Right. So if I scroll down.
Yeah. So I did the calculation here of dollars per megawatt hour from each of the things. Oh. So you see that Megapack and Cybertruck do better at a high price Cybertruck. I'm going to assume, though, that certain things will cut in price in order to drive volume. Yes, sure. So that's one of the things that people talk about. Oh, how do we get to more volume? Tesla's already said we're going to cut prices, right? Sure. So as they cut costs, cut prices, then they will reduce the dollars per megawatt hour. They'll need more batteries to do it, but then they can sell more units. So if you scroll down further, so then I say, okay, we drop the third gen car from 20K to 15K. I left semi prices alone. I think its demand is solid 250, but if you had to, you could drop it to 200K. Cybertruck goes to the original 40K price. Cybervan goes to 40K. Model Y, Model 3 goes to 30K. Megapack, again, I left alone. Again, if you had to drop it, you could drop it price.
Right.
And then that means 1.5, almost 1.5 terawatt hours to make your $600 million. But now you scroll down further, with the lower prices, I say scroll down further than that.
Okay.
Then I can say that you can then get to almost 40 million units. People say, oh, 20 million, like you can get to 40 million, but maybe it's like 2035, right? But you need about 6 terawatt hours of batteries. And then you need to spend, $400 million, whatever, on your factories, $400 million in factories. Tesla's revenue becomes $2.5 trillion on that. And then this is my rough market share based on that. That's how I compared Tesla to all these other semi trucks, where I say semis.
Yes, okay.
Wonderful. So scroll back up there. So that goes to, a market per year, you get $840 million if you had all of the 42 million third-gen car market, if it's assuming that's the complete market based on Master Plan 3. And then Tesla, if had 40% of that, would be $320 billion. If they got 8% of 3 million units of semi-truck, if the 8% of that, that's $600 billion. Because I think, showing that the semi is like a Model Y, Model 3 versus a Nissan Leaf with other guys, where they have shorter range, are just completely inferior, then they can get this huge 8% market share, which is what they have in the United States currently. So the bigger vehicles, semi, Cybertruck, is, I think, where Tesla's current technological superior shines. Third-gen vehicle, their technological superior could show there too, if they have a gig in Mexico, doing all kinds of wonderful things there. But, assuming that the BYD and China market are competing like crazy, selling at break even almost in order to have volume. But the overall thing is that of your 2.4 trillion, even if you have 16 million 3-gen cars, that's only $320 billion. It's like 1/8 of your overall revenue, because you make more revenue from semi and Megapack, because you have more market share there.
Sure.
But they are slightly more important than Cybertruck, Cybervan, even at 5.4 million units of Cybertruck, 4 million Cybervan. Your 16 million Gen 3 car is still a bit more important than that.
Yeah, and of course, a lot of this also changes when robotaxi becomes a thing. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, you may not be selling all these cars, you're putting them into the fleet, or you're selling them and they become part of the fleet. And if the robotaxi, depending on who's right, I have a new theory that I don't think I've shared with you, Brian, that not as many people as we think will give up their car.
Right.
And the reason,
I agree.
Okay. Because if they're able to buy a car and run it at 15 cents a mile, why would I give up my car?
Right.
So I think there's a chance that people will still want to own a car, even in the robotaxi world. And then my other theory that I came up while you were in Japan was that the robotaxi, not as many people are going to give up their car to the fleet as maybe we thought before. I'm beginning to think it might be on the order of 20% that are going to be willing to give up their car and let other people sit in it and fool with it and be bothered with the business aspects of it, because most people don't want to be in business for themselves.
Right. Yeah. So I've been thinking that as well, but we didn't discuss it, but we both have parallel arrived at the same conclusion that yes, I can go to 20 cents a mile instead of 70 cents a mile, and then you're saving all this money, which is great for senior citizens who don't want to drive and all this kind of stuff. But the people who would buy a higher end vehicle, a large SUV, a Porsche, that luxury vehicle, they're willing to spend more than basic transportation right now. Basic transportation, they could buy a Corolla now, but they didn't. They spent twice as much, three times as much, or that. Even people who whatever. So yes, I could do the cheapest form of transportation, which is robotaxi, but they say, you know, just like people in New York, and they could take public transportation, but they don't. They you know, there are some people who you know have their
They'll
own
drive.
vehicles for convenience, right? So I can take away the driving part of it, but having the luxury of a, you know, a full self-driving vehicle, higher end, not sharing with other people because I don't need to. My costs are reduced anyways, right? Because it's more efficient with the EV, not paying for gas all the time.
Right.
So my cost of ownership has gone down anyway, maybe gone not to 20 cents, but to 40 cents, right?
Yeah.
Or 30 cents. It's like I'm half my cost. I wanted to pay for full freight for an ICE vehicle, and now I just pay half for a really good EV. Yes, I agree that a lot of people will not do that, particularly in the United States and a higher end Europe. People who bought a new car, because you currently you would buy the used car in order to save same pricing. But if I would have bought a new car, yeah, a lot of time they won't share it.
Well, for those of you who are still watching, what you're watching here is why you should be watching this channel all the time. You just heard stuff that nobody else is talking about. I know I was the first person to suggest those two aspects, that fewer people would rent their car or put their car into the system, and that people will want to keep their cars if it's so cheap. I know Brian is the first to talk about, are you kidding? Half the things on this page, semi-truck, and the way that semi-truck will dominate and will completely dominate the thing, how important Megapack is to semi-trucks. All of that was Brian first. I'm talking about, nobody else was talking about it. So that's why you watch this channel. So Brian, it's great to have you back. Glad you're back in the country. Glad you made it back. I hope, and I know you love the food over there, but you can't get the food here, huh?
I think you can get Western food over there. I just choose not to.
All right, great. So thanks for being on. And to all of you, let me stop sharing my screen. To all of you out there, thank you as always for watching. Follow Brian on I always
next big future. Next big future.
Big future. Yeah. And he's next big future everywhere, whether that's Twitter, whether that's his website, I think, which is the most important to you right now, is your website.
Yeah.
Next big future. And by the way, if you're not looking at next big future, you should be. It's got stuff, amazing content there. And of course, Patreon as well. Thanks, Brian, again for being on board.
Thank you.
To all of you, it's been great talking to you.